Hello friends, my name is Balram Prasad and I'm working as a senior software engineer in Microsoft USA. Today I'm going to walk through with you some of the services provided by Microsoft Azure. Azure is a cloud computing service provided by Microsoft. So I will go and demo few of the Azure services, and for that what I am thinking that I will create some of scenario, maybe one scenario, and whatever a probable component we can use over there, we will use that one. So agenda is that I will go through what serverless services provided by you, mainly Azure Functions and other things. Then we will create Azure Function in Portal, create a storage account and queue inside that one. We will create Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB is a NoSQL DB is offered by Azure. We will create a demo app, function app in Visual Studio, and then we are going to use some of the trigger, timer trigger, HTTP trigger, queue trigger, and Cosmos trigger. Then we are going to change this function by some event mechanism or something like that. Then we are going to deploy this one and monitor this one, and how we can test HTTP trigger functions using Postman tool. So we will see that one. So this is too much for one demo, so I am going to split this whole demo series into 4 or 5 videos so that it will be easy to watch. And later we are going to use also Azure Key Vault and Azure App Configuration. These two services are also provided by Azure. One is Key Vault, where we store all the secret and keys for safely, so for security. And the another is that previously when we were developing the application, we used to keep all this our configuration in JSON file or something. Now we Azure has provided one service app configuration where we can store that one, and we can use dynamic also. If we can change into something into app configuration and we do not have to deploy the code, mostly we need to restart the service, so that we will see later. We will add some more Azure services on that one, and basically we are going to add Azure API management. We are going to create Azure app service, which is provided by Azure, is another service. We are going to integrate send grid, one third party services host on the Azure to send the notification. So this is too many component, too many services provided by Azure. We are going to use that one. That is why I am going to split this one into multiple series. So we are going to create a hypothetical scenario for this demo. And what we are going to see that, suppose we have to create a software for a small shop, right, which has a web or mobile UI. The UI, we will see that how which component and which services we can use in later videos, and mostly we will try to use React. And generally that UI is taking some order, and then whatever shop is there, that is going to ship that orders to given the address. That is whole hypothetical scenario we are going to use. For that, what basic thing we are going to create, that a dummy create order API, which the API will be called from UI, and then we will process that order, and there will be some kind of shipping model or process model which will ship that your order, whatever order we have created. And then there will be a notification module, where the notification module will pick that one and send notification to user, consumer who has given the order, that your order has been shipped. And there will be some more feature where the backend function will decide that, hey, some if there are some product which is very less in stock, it will connect to third party services and order that one. So that is the concept of this scenario. We are not going to have full-fledged working solution, but we are going to have some dummy code, dummy functions. And later on this whole channel, our channel, the same scenario we are going to create using our AWS cloud, using AWS cloud and Google cloud. So we will see that how the different component work along with that. Basically there will be no real code, only dummy code and dummy functions to demonstrate the serverless feature and Azure services. There are just demo purpose. These are the for demo purposes service. There are few other way we can do the same hypothetical scenario. We can do by multiple ways in Azure services. So many services provided by Azure for so many different scenarios and so many different scenario based on your need, what your company is using, what your company is specialized on which technology, that kind of scenario. But for it is just for demonstration purpose, so I am going to use few of that serverless feature provided by Azure. And to be clear, this is just a demo of some services provided by Azure. This is not any recommendation for any technical part or any company or any cloud. We are just going to leverage that one. For this whatever scenario I talked about, what will be the simple architecture I am thinking of. So suppose a user, if you see that user is using some kind of UI which might be hosted on Azure App Services. App Services is one service where you can app host your web related UI or API. And then what we are going to do that it will be connecting with Azure Active Directory for your authentication purpose and authorization purpose. So Azure Active Directory is another service provided by Azure where you can configure your users, your permissions of your application, and you can build it according to that one. So that is another service. And we are going to develop the API, and which can be hosted in multiple way. We can host the API also in app services. For the sake of demonstration, I am going to use HTTP trigger serverless function app. So serverless is nowadays boom, and Azure Function is a serverless offering by them cloud. So we are going to use that Azure trigger, and in between, because there are scenarios can happen that there is a multiple web end and HTTP end. How we can manage using API management service, that also, that is one more service provided by Azure for managing different API and different API catalogs. So we will see that some part of that one. So once user is using our API and calling that Azure HTTP trigger function for creating the purchase order or order, that is going to store something into Azure Cosmos DB. Azure Cosmos DB, as I talked, is another offering for NoSQL database, and yes, it is globally available database. So we are going to store that order into that NoSQL database, and also whatever product and their stocks we are going to store over there. So that our another function which we talked about, that there will be some backend job, and that will be time trigger function, Azure function, which are going to check from Cosmos that what is the lowest stock quantity, what is the low stock product in our system, and it is going to order from some third party, right? So that we will implement using timer trigger. And then because our HTTP trigger has inserted or added the record into Cosmos DB, when user creates a purchase order, we will have another function, and it will be Cosmos DB trigger, which will start processing of that purchase order, and it will process that one, send the details to shipping, and then it will place a message in a storage queue for sending the notification that hey, I have shipped this order. After that one, what we will do that another queue trigger function we will call, which will be called automatically when something goes into queue, and it will connect to SendGrid and send the notification to user. And in all of the services, most common services, we are going to use that whatever logs is going to, we are going to store into application inside. We are going to use a key vault for secret management. There will be secret, and we will that is what we are going to use later once we are starting, and later in the video we will update that to how to use key vault and app configuration. And a Azure Active Directory is used for authentication, authorization, or management. So for security and security things. So and we are going to use Visual Studio for our development purpose. We are going to use Postman. Postman is a tool to test your API without any UI, and Azure Storage Explorer, where we can explore and connect Cosmos DB and Q storage to see that what messages are there and how it looks like into Azure storage. So that is whole architecture and how we are going to do into our demo series for this one. And this is what we have designed, that we're thinking that we are going to focus on serverless architecture and serverless component provided by cloud. So if you see there, we are not using any VMs, we are not using any services which has some server which we have to maintain internally. These services are going to use some kind of server or some kind of containers, but we are not going to manage that one. That is the main concept we are going to deal with. And the another things, if you see that when we have broken this API in such a way that it generally refers to microservices, where your a small component is having some their or their code, and so that we are trying to follow that architecture. So this is what we are going to do that one. So in first video, after this introduction video, in very first demo video, we are going to create a function app in Azure. Then we will create Azure storage queue in Azure Portal, and then we are going to create Azure app inside to store application traces in log. We are going to create HTTP trigger function is Visual Studio, and then we are going to use Postman to testing that one, that HTTP trigger function. Then in video number 2, we will create Cosmos DB in Azure Portal. Then we will update our Azure HTTP trigger to store data in Cosmos. Then we are going to develop a dummy function to trigger based on Cosmos, right? Cosmos trigger we are going to use, so that we will say that order is processed and shipped. In demo number 3, we are going to update once again Cosmos function app, and we will add some logic so that message we can push the message into shipping queue, so that the another function which we are going to create based on queue trigger will pick up, and then we will send the notification you to consumer using SendGrid notification service. Then also in the same video, we are going to create another function app based on time trigger to order the product from dealer, which stock is less into quantity, right? Video number 4, what we are going to do, that we are going to update that function to use Azure Key Vault for secret, whatever secret we will see in this videos, that when you are want to connect Azure Cosmos, then you need some connection string and key. If you want to connect Azure storage queue, then also you need some keys and other things. So we will update our code to read all these keys from Azure Key Vault, and some of the configuration we will push into Azure configuration, so that we will update all our functions. Then we will also, for that purpose, we will create Key Vault in Azure on app configuration. Then we will talk about managed identity, that what are the managed identity to consume that secret from Key Vault by our hosted function. So we do not have to manage any secret in the production or in the local environment also. Then we will deploy all this function to Azure. We will test it. We will monitor these function apps, right? In the demo number 5, we are going to create Azure API management. We are going to host React app into Azure App Service. We are going to configure that Azure API management with function app trigger. Then we are going to call Azure API endpoint from React app, and then we are going to test that one once. So this is what we are thinking for this 5 or 6 video series for Azure Functions, and mainly dealing with all this. I hope it is going to help for you. So that is why this video gives the introduction of what we are going to cover in other videos. Let's see. I think it will be helpful. I hope. And post any comment if you need to use any services, you need to know about any services in AWS, Google, or Azure. we are going to help you at any time. So thank you very much for watching this one. Thank you very much.